individuals here. Mike and Joe actually put this whole thing together, so I have to thank them, and great job, guys. So with that, I'll turn it over to Supervisor Scott. Scott.
Thank you, Marty. Hi, everyone. Excuse me. Fighting some allergies here. So when I found out earlier this week that that my friend and my former colleague and my former boss, actually Blake Loebs, was being honored by the POA, I knew I had to be here. I had the honor of serving as a deputy city attorney and representing many police officers over a 9-year period, and it was really an honor to do that, and it was also an honor to work closely with Blake, who was really a mentor to me and taught me a lot of what I know as a lawyer, as a trial lawyer, as someone representing police officers. I came to the city attorney's office in 2002. I had been in private practice before, but I didn't really know anything about how to try cases, how to really do that kind of work, and I was pretty inexperienced. And my first team leader was Blake, and I remember before when I first arrived, and some of my colleagues who will remain nameless, I said, "Oh no, Blake is your team leader. He's really hardcore. He's really he's going to come down on you really hard." And I realized over time that Blake is really one of the most brilliant lawyers I've ever met, but also just an incredibly intense and passionate person about everything he does, and that included the work in the city attorney's office. And he taught me how to defend police officers and how to do those cases, and just the absolute meticulous attention to detail, every detail of a case. And when you have a police case, particularly where there's a shooting involved, or sometimes, and any police officer knows this, sometimes things seem a certain way at the beginning and get spun a certain way. An officer shoots someone, and something happens, and there's an initial take about this is what happened. And what Blake knew and what Blake taught me is you have to just dig in and dig in and dig in, and often it ends up that the opposite is true. And I think that is so important in when you're representing police officers, because we know that in this city in particular, sometimes officers are not given the benefit of the doubt, and people jump to a lot of conclusions that if something happened, if you had to use force, you must have done something wrong. And in the city attorney's office, our job was really to make sure that officers got the best defense possible, and Blake really exemplified that. And I remember working with Blake on the Cameron Boyd case in the 2004 incident that Marty referenced, where two fine officers, Jim O'Malley and Tim Payne, were frankly heroes in what they did in keeping this town safe from someone who was just going on an absolute violent criminal rampage. And they got tarred and feathered early on, and we, and under Blake's leadership, the amount of time that we put into that case, these guys could have gotten the top law firm in New York City, and it would not have gotten a better defense than the defense that they got from us, but primarily from Blake, turning over every stone. And we went through a month-long trial, and after all these years and years and years of work to take this case to trial, and then a 6-week trial, I think it was, that jury went out for less than an hour and completely exonerated these officers who had not only not done anything wrong, but truly were heroic. And I know that over the years, other officers of Blake defended had a similar experience. And Blake, I will say it was such an honor to work with you, to learn from you. I remember you telling me early on, these police officers, they're their careers are sometimes in our hands, and that it is so important to always keep that in mind, that these are human beings with lives, with careers, who have very difficult jobs, and it is our responsibility to defend them and make sure that justice is served. So it was an honor to work with you, and I'm just thrilled that you're being recognized tonight. So congratulations, Blake.
Thank you, Scott. We've had many members that had the opportunity to work with Blake over the years, and we've had a number of them who wanted to speak tonight. I had to limit it because we don't want to turn this into some type of circus, but Lieutenant Mike Nevin, we wanted to say a few words on behalf of Blake.
Everybody's kind of tall over here. Before I mention about my friend Blake, I think I can say that now after some time we spent together. I'd just like to say something about putting this program together. When Marty and Joe and the executive board stated that I'm new to the executive board, and when I found out that this is what we were doing, I could easily say that this is the easiest thing I've ever had to do as a member of the POA, is putting together this event. I'm intimately familiar with all of the cases that we're going to be speaking about tonight, and all of the officers that are involved in these incidents. And as a person who had to go out and investigate those incidents, obviously I try to approach each one with professional eyesight and make sure that we did what we had to do as a department to ensure that things were done properly. But I can honestly say, and I probably couldn't say it at the time, that each and every one of you receiving one of this award tonight, you are courageous and brave, and this city should be honored to have you in its police force. So thank you. Blake Loebs was a chief of civil rights litigation for 8 years, and Marty stated earlier that he's moving on. He's actually not leaving the city attorney's office. He is moving on to a different assignment. But we at the POA felt that it was very important to honor what he's done and represented in terms of representing the officers of this department. He was involved in multiple cases. He served as first chair for more than 25 jury trials, prevailed in each. He defended the city, the county of San Francisco from civil suits involving officer-involved shootings, allegations of police misconduct, catastrophic personal injuries cases. You'll hear a little bit more about the Boyd case that was mentioned earlier. He briefed and argued numerous appeals before the Ninth Circuit Court, the California Court of Appeals, involving issues of civil rights and other matters. He's litigated hundreds of civil rights and personal injury cases involving short trial through motions or settlements. With extensive, numerous experts, he developed reports, testimony in the field of police practices involving blood spatter, ballistics, crime scene reconstruction, computer animation, fiber analysis, DNA analysis, accident reconstruction, fingerprint analysis. He oversaw numerous complex reconstructions of these incidents and accidents. He assisted in drafting general orders for the San Francisco Police Department and shaping the policies that we currently have involving the use of force and the use of firearms. And he currently, or up until the present time, served as a guest lecturer at the San Francisco Police Academy on a course involving officer-involved shootings and supervisor's response. So that's Blake in a nutshell. 2 minutes can't do him much justice, but I'm here to say that all the officers in this room, I hope, can certainly appreciate the fact that we, as members of this department, always listen to the radio and responded to 1025s or call for help. Blake Loebs is a guy who responded to your 1025s and called for help when you're going up against some heavy hitters in the legal field. And I know it's not comfortable sitting in front of plaintiff's attorney being deposed, or certainly having to be on a witness stand. But that was the guy who was in your corner. It's an honor to honor tonight. Jim O'Malley, I'd like you to come up and say a few words because obviously you have a personal connection. Thank you.
Everybody see me okay? Anyway, Blake defended Tim Payne and I in a fairly high-profile officer-involved shooting back in 2004. He had a fantastic team of attorneys. He was the lead attorney. Supervisor Scott Wiener was the second chair. with Emily Bernstein as the third chair. Emily Bernstein graduated high school at 16 years old and went into Harvard Law. So we had the dream team of attorneys. I've always felt since that trial, and it was 6.5 weeks of arduous depositions and all that courtroom work that Blake did, he is the master at this thing. And I got to watch him perform his magic in court for 6.5 weeks. The jury came back 9-0, that we didn't do anything wrong. The amount of work and the amount of paperwork that was generated from this case was literally trucked out of the city attorney's office on hand carts. Something like 10 of those big file boxes. Amazing piece of police work and courtroom work. I mean, just the master litigator, just fantastic. Tim Payne couldn't be here tonight. He's out of the country. He did write a note, if I may.
Sure.
Do we have enough time for that?
Yeah.
So we in law enforcement